Twilight is defined as a period or state of obscurity, ambiguity, or gradual decline. As in, vampires are in their twilight, evidenced by the horrible movie Twilight. We are In Defense of Bad Movies. Hey everybody, Sam here, and this is In Defense of Bad Movies. Let's do an introduction. I'm Sam Bowen. Over here we have Laura King.
Hey.
Bobby Mattern.
Hello.
Lauren Bowen.
Ahoy, hoy.
And a special guest today defending the movie we're talking about, Cerissa Linday.
Hi, guys.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
Hi.
You did.
Welcome.
That was very, very well done. Excuse me.
This is exciting.
It is exciting. How's everyone doing?
Doing well.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, thank you for having me. I hope
Sam, did you get new glasses? I'm sorry.
I actually got old glasses.
Oh, okay.
It's a whole...
It's really great audio.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Nice visual component to the podcast.
Sam, I like your shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Really
yeah,
good.
it's really cool. It's indescribable, I'd say.
Do you like the way I'm wearing my hair today?
That's nice. Yeah. I like it.
Guys, did you notice the new physical feature about me?
The house,
good, right?
The house has a new trim too.
Ooh.
Yeah, everything's different. But thank you for noticing.
They're making fun of me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe we'll put a picture up.
Fun with.
Yes.
Making fun with you.
Just put a picture up of two random pairs of glasses. This is the old one. This is the new one.
I'll be honest. I didn't notice. Sorry.
Nobody has.
Yeah.
Laura's the first.
So really, you're just illustrating what a good person she is.
I am.
I didn't notice that you wore glasses in the first place.
I don't. I didn't really need to take those off, did
Where
I?
did
For
you
the
go?
podcast.
Oh my gosh, Jesse's here. Oh wait, Jesse wears glasses.
Oh wait, this is Jesse.
For the
Another
people
good
at
audio
home,
gig.
Hilarious visual gag. This is the hallmark of any good
We
podcast.
should just start over right now.
No. For the listener, I was closing my eyes. Okay. And most likely you don't know Jesse. Okay. So we watched the movie Twilight, which is by all accounts a great movie. Not so much. Okay. The Twilight, it was based on Stephenie Meyer's books. And before we get into it, we have, our first segment, Laura's 15-second movie recap. So I want you to think about it for a second, Laura, while I am pulling up your timer. And this time I'm actually going to time
I thought you always time me.
I always time you, but this time I'm doing it as an alarm. It'll beep
Okay.
when it's done, rather than just like I watch it go to 0 and it's fun watching you squirm, so I let you keep going.
Okay.
So, go.
Okay. Girl moves away from her mom's home. Girl moves in with dad. Girl meets boy who wants to suck her blood and unfolds the movie. You have to watch it.
Perfect. I don't know what the movie's about, but perfect timing.
You got it.
Yeah, I did.
It's very generic. I wanted to use generic terms.
You did. So, do we before I?
Wait. You don't think that's enough of a plot? A guy wants to suck out all her blood, but they're like, it's indicated it's a love story. That doesn't sound like a problem for you.
Not at all.
I don't know how they're going to resolve that. Really, I don't know if they can do it by the end of the movie either.
Oh, they will. They will take their sweet time in doing just that.
It might take a few more movies.
Do we want to discuss everyone's familiarity with it before we watched it this time?
That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had seen it once and I remembered most of it, but I rewatched it again the other day.
And did you like it before we rewatched it?
I would like to save that for the podcast, so I'm declined to comment on my liking.
This is the podcast. This is it. This is the real thing.
No, actually,
this is not a dry run. We don't do the dress rehearsal.
Well, I was gonna let it unfold, but okay. So I thought it was okay. I think the first one's actually the best movie out of all of them. And I think the directing is really good in this movie.
So I can go home, right? She's just going to do my job and I'll go home?
I guess if this were like a murder trial where you only need to convince one juror,
yeah,
you'd be ready.
I was kind of hoping I would grab a snack or something. Okay.
Had you read the book before?
No, I haven't read the books.
Okay. And Bobby?
I read 3 books, And I've seen all the movies. I actually saw this one at midnight. I remembered. It's weird because I've never really been a fan of the series, but I still watched it at midnight because I was just watching all movies at the midnight opening show at that time.
That was just your thing?
Yeah.
How about you, Lauren?
I think I'd read all the books and did enjoy them in that kind of like summer candy reading. Like, this is romance about vampires and werewolves, what's not to like? And then saw all of the movies because I had to. And, disappointed by the movies.
Right. And I mentioned in the mini-sode, which if you don't listen to, listeners, you should. I don't know why, but you should. For some reason, I read the first book, and then I saw the second movie, but I had not seen the first movie. And I did not care for the book. And then, Cerissa, you are a Twihard?
Well, I would like to say I'm probably on the lower echelons of Twihardness. Like, I don't have any Twilight tattoos.
What's your specific rank?
Are you a Twi-semi-hard?
What's above white belt? I don't know what that would be exactly, but I don't have any Twilight tattoos and I don't have any Twilight posters anymore. So I'm working on it, you guys. I'm working on getting better. It's like I need a 12-step program. I think I might be, I don't know. But
maybe this will be step 1.
Yeah, I know. True story about this one is that I had not read the books prior to seeing Twilight, and it was my friend who convinced me to go to a midnight showing. Actually, at first I was like, the question was asked, do you want to go see Twilight? And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't want to do that at all. But then I thought, what the heck, it'll be fun. I thought maybe eventually I would see it. I knew that there was the people from Harry Potter and, 13 and all that in there. So I went to go see the film and was instantly taken with it. And immediately after leaving, I was like, where are these books? I want to know more. And so I did my summer, I got into the books after the fact. And so it wasn't until I saw New Moon that now I was a pro. I knew what was going on and I knew what to expect. So I do have the benefit of seeing the movie before reading the books, but reading the book did not change my perspective on the movie. So.
Okay. And let's just do you want to jump straight into your defense of it?
Motherfucking vampires, man. I don't know what to tell you other than I feel like it would be foolhardy of me to come in and try and convince you guys of this movie. You guys are all pretty dead set on probably your different takes on what was not to like about it. Although, I am going to try and, use Laura here to try and sway you guys as much as possible. But I do want to at least help you to maybe appreciate what this movie has given you if you don't quite understand and respect it. Because, not only is this movie, fine to watch on its own merits, but it has spurred, many wonderful parodies. You've got riff tracks and bad lip reading. And, those wouldn't have been as funny if you hadn't have seen this movie. So I think you really should appreciate that. And also, when they do bad lip reading and riff tracks for 50 Shades of Grey, we also have this movie to thank for it because, of course, it is what was it originally? What was it?
Slash fiction.
Yes, a fanfic of sorts. So I think that's important to consider. I'm not entirely sure that we would have Anna Kendrick today, you guys. I think this movie might have launched her. I'm not saying she wouldn't have been in stuff, but it might still have been stuff no one had seen.
Was she Up in the Air first, or was it?
I looked it up.
This was first.
This was first. This was the thing that made her, and she is wonderful, and I love her, and she's been amazing in all of the films. So I'm not saying she wouldn't have got there. I'm just saying maybe she just would be now peaking. So, think of all the stuff we've had in the last few years. Like, Pitch Perfect would still be in its infancy. I don't even know
if
I
could live. It would have gone to Demi Lovato.
Yeah. Oh, God, no, that's
You
so
might have
bad.
sold me.
I don't know if this is necessarily a good or bad thing, but this movie solo-handedly made the Volvo cool again. I think before that...
Volvo was always cool.
No, it really wasn't. So I just, and I also truly believe that this movie, if it hadn't have gotten as big as it did, that we probably also wouldn't have movies like The Hunger Games, at least, again, not in what its iteration is today, because the studios were trying to chase the success of Twilight. So that being said, and also very important thing, this Twilight film was the only one to not receive any Razzie nominations. So I know you might think that means that they were overlooked, but I just think that means there were way worse movies in 2008. So just keep all that in mind, and then bring it on, because I'll tell you guys what's what.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, with Anna Kendrick, you might have sold me, because I do not want to imagine a world with no Anna Kendrick.
I know, she's pretty great.
Or worse, she's not famous.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, I don't want to say this movie was... I think this is the reason she got into our mainstream. I think she's totally wonderful and has done amazing work on the side. But she also, I think, did a good job of standing out in a movie where probably normally that character wouldn't be thought of much more. So, to her own credit, I think Twilight is more wonderful because of Anna Kendrick. So,
Just for the record, what won the Razzie that year was I Know Who Killed Me. The Lindsay Lohan.
that movie is way, way not good. So, I'm just saying. Thanks for looking that up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I didn't bother to get that far.
God bless the internet.
It was whatever was on IMDb, basically.
So, who wants to start tearing it apart?
I want to start with the positives. And I know that there was
this won't take
disagreement
long.
among the group about who was the best director of the movie. I think Catherine Hardwicke, it's Hardwicke, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think she was the best one. I think she captured a very selective vision for it, and like the setting, it made it come alive more than any of the other ones. I think she did the best job with what she had, and I don't think the source material was that great, but I think that she really captured what she could from the actors.
I mean, I would like to just extend on that. I mean, I agree with that. Prior to having seen this film, I had seen 13 and the Lords of Dogtown, but prior to seeing this film, I felt like, even though it does, I will admit, have a bit of a student film kind of quality to it, I felt like it, just in the weird angles and, the blue hue of the film, but I felt like I had not seen anything like that, and I felt like she definitely gave her own voice to it, that the rest of them now have this very beautiful, and now their budgets are increased and they have these big directors and stuff, but I felt like it definitely still has her take on it.
Even the first part of the movie, Bobby and I were talking about that it felt like a very independent movie. If you didn't know anything about it, and you watched
and that's what it was. They didn't think it was going to be this massive success.
It was very, and so I thought that the blue atmosphere around it, the kind of dark, the weird angles, I thought it did the movie a favor. I know Lauren had a different opinion about it, but
the dialogue felt like an independent movie. It was.
The dialogue is not unique to Twilight, though.
Yeah.
But it's horrible.
I agree, actually. I think Catherine Hardwicke's sensibilities really kind of fit the series, and I think the further you move into the series, the more generic the movies feel. And I appreciated her directing in this.
I just disagree. I want to like her because I respect what she's dealing with. She has the first movie, and I do want her to put, her indie directorial stamp on it. And I respect that she's working with less budget and the difficulty of that. But what she has in her hands is the easiest story in the world. She has forbidden romance between supernatural figures, and that should be the easiest thing to make interesting. And I feel like between her and a few other people contributing to that, it just falls so flat. I feel like the weird angles and some of the lazy choices, and it does not work for me. I think it's it feels slapped together in an inexpert way.
Do you feel like the lazy choices are just the screenplay?
I don't think it's the screenplay necessarily. There's just so much that it feels like they have a book property in their hands, and so they feel like we're just going to slap the book on the screen and people will be happy. And so it lacks the dynamism that I would expect from a good director. There's the scene when Edward sneaks into her bedroom, they try kissing, it fails because he gets almost overwhelmed. So it's like, all right, well, can I just stay here? Okay. And then we have silent montage of them talking, and then it, jump cuts to silent montage of us looking at each other, and then silent montage of him looking while she's asleep. And it's lazy. We don't take the time to sort of develop them in there. It's just a weird, boring shot.
Well, it is kind of a difficult thing for anyone taking a book and putting it on screen, and that is kind of a tough row to hoe, because if you add too much, people aren't going to like it. So you want to have it as faithful as possible, but still convert it to a successful movie. So I mean, it is. I don't really know from directing, but I mean, just to give her kind of the benefit of the doubt as far as that goes.
I think something that she does that the other directors didn't do is for a lot of the movie, she seems to be she pushes the relationship in like a really lusty sort of way. Whereas in the other movies, it's, you know, these two are destined for each other. It's very romantic. And she kind of, I mean, the last third of the movie, not so much, but like, it feels like she's really grasping onto this, like, this lusty energy between Bella and Edward.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that a little bit, was that she, you know, she actually picked these two lead actors, and you say what you will about either one of them. I'm ready for it. But I don't think you can deny their chemistry and the fact that she cast them based. Oh no, I would definitely. Hello, they ended up like dating for 2 years.
I know, and I don't understand that. I think that was just hopeless, because they have no chemistry.
I thought they definitely did. That translated to me, but you know, and also the fact that he was British, and you know, and you know, the brave Cedric Diggory didn't hurt it, but sorry, Robert, that I keep referencing your one little bit part in Harry Potter 4. That she actually cast them after like watching them do a scene on her own bed, which that does like, I think go back to like that lusty kind of act that you're talking about, that they just always had this like kind of this chemistry, even that she sensed. And this is me going into my little expert Twilight, you know, pushing up my glasses that I know these things, but I know that like she was also like 17 at the time, and so he was like a little bit older, and she was always like, watch out, don't do it, and she's got a boyfriend, so stop. Like she already just sensed that this was this connection between the two of them, and I think, I don't know that this movie again would have been as successful had they cast other actors. That being said, I actually don't see Kristen Stewart when I read the books. I see this other Bella in my head, but I accept that she's Bella, and I'm fine with it. It took me maybe some time to understand and appreciate once I did take it, you know, more critical eye. But I think her choices, I would at least say Catherine Hardwicke's choices for casting her make sense to me, because I think, you know, people like to tear apart, her acting, and she's so like, you know, monotone and whatever. I think that was intentional, coming across from like, you know, they wanted all these high school kids that were like, oh my gosh, and it's so fun. Like, what are we going out to the push? And Bella was this much more like, I'm much more mature, and I don't seem to have that much, you know, I don't get excited about dumb things. That was kind of, I think that was intentional. So, I mean, again, I think the choices that she made, I think were the right ones. And my more problems with the movie may come from like editing standpoint, like whoever the editor was, and then I think they ended up being the editor for one of the final ones. I don't want to scream, but you know, there is the scene where he's confronting her, or she's confronting him, and the fact that they don't make a complete 360 or whatever of that shot, they cut out right before then, I want to scream. But that's one of the few times in that movie that it really bothers me. I don't get upset by the close-ups of the eyes, and I know that does bother a lot of people, but.
No, I agree. Swoopy camera and slopey angles were far more annoying.
Yeah.
I do feel that I didn't get the feeling that from her that she was more mature than I felt that she was just like she would like to be in. I'm kind of torn, because I did kind of get the feeling that the character they wanted her to be above the fray, and she kind of swoops in and starts fixing everyone's life.
Right.
But at the same time, the acting didn't carry for me. I felt. I
think some of those choices were to help explain things from the books, like when you know, they do explain in the books that she's kind of this like more mature. She's always taking care of her harebrained mother. That's like kind of, she's been the adult kind of her whole life, was kind of the indication there. So I think kind of bringing in this solemn teenager was kind of the way to do that. I was watching the movie prior to coming to do the podcast, and my boyfriend caught the scene. He's never seen the movie, but he laughed out loud when she walked by, and in the first time she really has an opportunity to be around Edward, and the fan catches a drag of her hair, and he laughed at that. But I'm like, you have to do that in the movie. I mean, maybe there was a better way, I don't know, but I think in that it maybe comes across as silly, but it's like, how else do you understand, like, to try and get across the point that he's picked up her scent. You know what I mean?
I've always...
So I think there's moments like that where it's like, it comes across as silly, but it's like, that's how they had to tell that part of the story.
I've always kind of loved that moment, because Robert Pattinson, I think, plays it like he has an erection.
Which is kind
that's
of
exactly what he should be doing in that scene.
Yeah. I like his choices a lot. I think he's... I just keep hearing the from Lauren.
I would agree with that. I don't hate Pattinson. Like, I don't love it all, but I feel like he's trying and he's making choices, and I appreciate what he is doing.
I think my favorite is just when she kind of calls him out, like, "Hey, did you get contacts?" He's like, "No, it's fluorescence." And he just like stutters and walks off, and it was just this awkward, like, I don't how to words, and it just the fact that he's this, suave,
weird.
debonair, supposed to be vampire, but around this girl, he just becomes incapable of like thought.
He doesn't talk to girls. It's hard.
It's hard, talking to girls is hard. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a question. Yes.
No, that's fair. I support you with that. I feel like that there's a lot of good acting in the movie. It doesn't come from one of their leads, and that's really unfortunate to me. But
yeah,
like,
Kristen Stewart is terrible.
I really
I'm sorry,
have to support
but
that.
like there is no redeemable quality.
Yeah, I feel like the movies would have been so much better without her.
Uncontrollably shakes when she has to speak, and she looks down at the lips the whole time. She's like trying to make eye contact, but she just doesn't reach his
that's what you
eyes.
do.
She just looks.
She's shorter than him,
She's just like
You
this.
pick a spot on the floor and you focus on it, and then you fix your hair. And you
Yeah,
comb your hair.
there
you bite
were
your
times
lip.
where I question what her choice was, if anything, because she does get accused of acting very much more like her own personality, which I don't think she thinks she was doing. So I try. But she's also critically acclaimed. Like people really seem to like her, and they want to work with her and stuff. So I'm trying.
Maybe
I
she's
try
very
to
nice.
see that.
I need
She's
to
very
see
nice.
more. Like I remember before this movie being positive on her. She'd been in some indie films. I was like,
Into the Wild
she's-
was the big
like
thing.
she's precocious and young, and like
Yeah.
is a talented young lady. This will be a great choice. And then saw Twilight and just hated everything that she did in it, and that was very confusing because I thought she came from such a strong place.
It wasn't until I want to even say maybe Breaking Dawn 2 that I finally got to a point where I was like, yes, I feel like I did truly feel like, yes, you've come full circle and now you are Bella, which is hard, that sucks to say it took about the 5th film, but and then that kind of, maybe go back and appreciate everything. I did not the first time I saw it, I feel like I just ate it up like candy, like, like I said, but then when I went back and watched it again, I did struggle with her, absolutely, but I think by the time it came back around to the 5th movie, I feel like she fully...
And that's funny when she's a stronger character.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was suggested that Bella is more her own personality, but what I feel like when I look at her Bella in Twilight is the actress is a very strong, confident woman, and she has to portray a very weak, awkward woman, and so she's kind of doing it by rote. Like, well, if I were awkward, I would probably mumble and, like, not look people in the eye and give a really weird cadence to my sentences, and so that's what I'm going to do to portray this. Like, it doesn't feel natural to her.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the problem is there's nothing to Bella, like, at all as a character. I mean, even in the books, like, I don't know, like, I'm not totally sold on Kristen Stewart in this movie either, but she didn't bug me as much this time, and I think it's because I had just started rereading the book again, and I was just like, I can't tell you a single damn thing about Bella, and then, like, watching her, I'm like, Kristen's trying, like, I don't know, like, she's not great, but, like, I don't know, I thought she brought something, like, a little interesting to the role.
I mean, I would agree with that. They don't quite go into too much detail about. I mean, not necessarily. They did a little bit of like likes and dislikes and stuff. And yeah, it does come across more of like this sad, like not sad, I guess is the word, but mopey teen, kind of like, oh, this sucks. I'm going from. Like, by the way, guys, I lived in Phoenix for 11 years. It's not that cool.
Yeah, why would you miss it?
There's no reason to miss it. I was ready to go back to being from. I was actually. I feel like this is maybe kind of, off topic, but I should admit I actually have been to Forks, Washington, you guys. I feel like maybe this is an awkward time to mention that.
Before
But
or after the movie?
Was it on your
it was
Quest?
after. I was in Seattle for a couple weeks, and I begged a friend to drive me out there, but it was funny because there are actual like Twilight nerds and stuff that are like all around the town, and I pretty much like hid in my car, like I scooted down as low as I could and took some pictures. I was just like, I feel too much deep shame, but I guess I'm okay admitting it now. It's been time.
So you've been to Forks,
I have.
and you lived in.
I've lived in. I am, for all intents and purposes, I'm Bella.
Do they look exactly the same? Because they did in the movie.
Oh, what? Phoenix and Forks? Yeah, no. Yeah, my understanding is they filmed some of the movie. I actually have been I also visited the high school where they filmed it because it was on the way back from my grandma's house, you guys. It was like right off the road. And I did stop there. And so that was in Washington. And then I believe they filmed a lot of it actually in Oregon along the coast and stuff. So, no, it does not. La Push doesn't look like La Push, you guys. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, really?
Sorry, I know that was total off topic, but I just felt like that was, you guys need to know
It's
that
the
about
Twilight.
me.
We're taking the Twilight reality tour.
You understand. I understand this stuff.
Actually, after this movie, I kind of wanted to go and visit that area and see. Like,
I think
if
it would
was
probably be
really
better now. I
overdone.
kind of went when it was still like before movies had come out and everything. So it was like, I think I visited school when it was like off, but it was kind of cool. It was like, oh, I'm in the parking lot where Bella almost got smashed by a truck or, by a van. And like, I, wanted to imagine that I was going to go walk up that hill in the back and, encounter a vampire. It's a hill going back up behind the school. There is a hill, the hill that they walk up, and then yes, all of a sudden they're in a forest, which was probably shot in Vancouver or something. But
That guy who almost hit her with the truck, was he sorry?
was he sorry that
Was
he
he sorry
hit her?
that he almost hit
So
because
sorry.
Yeah, he's supposed to be.
he
He doesn't
was.
seem like it.
I wanna
He
give that
said
guy
it
an
about
Oscar.
700
Tyler.
times.
Yeah, he's supposed to be very sorry.
His character's secret was that he had Tourette's.
Oh, God. Everything was so literal in the movie. Like, we really have to convey that this guy's sorry.
But he's very sorry in the book. That is a book thing.
Does he say
that's-
it
He
11
tries to
times?
make up to her by forcing her to go to prom with them. So
And
that's
that's a
fair.
more
that's
reasonable.
that's what you would do.
What a sweet guy.
If you try to almost kill someone.
And that feels like a more
Was that that
reasonable.
same guy?
It's in the book, it's the same guy.
Oh, okay. Was
In the movie, they don't do that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that would be interracial, and they didn't want to go
Yeah.
there. In
my.
fact,
No, okay, can I actually say there are some parts of the movie that I really do appreciate that I feel like they either fix problems in the book or actually like one of them was the whole they do combine some characters and the character of Angela wants to go out with oh gosh, what's his name? Ben, yeah, Eric in the movie. And she's like hoping and pining that he's going to ask her to prom. And I do like that there is the scene with Bella where she says, ask him yourself. You're an independent, strong woman. And the girl's kind of like, oh, am I? And she's like, yes. And I do appreciate that because in the movie it is in the book it's not quite like that. It's just, I don't feel like Bella ever takes kind of a moment like that. And she does actually, in the book, I believe, try to fight. She's debating fighting back against the guys who, may cause her physical harm before Edward swoops in with the cool reverse Volvo scene, which I think that's why everybody wanted to buy their cars that day. But in the thing, she actually, it's hard to see. I think she punches him or steps on something or kicks him in the groin or something like that. And I do appreciate little moments like that I feel like either the screenwriter or someone made a choice to actually make Bella a little bit stronger character. Because I do agree that there are times where she feels a little bit one note. But I feel like that was an enhancement to the books. Those few moments where they did try to make her a little bit stronger of a character. So.
And I wish we had more of that. I agree with you that that part, like her interaction with the human friends, like there's only a couple more moments where it rings true. Like that moment with Angela is kind of nice, even though she's looking off at a spot on the ground and doesn't really feel really concerned with Angela. And like the end where she's complimenting Anna Kendrick's boobs at the prom. The most human parts. But like if they throw in a few more parts of her being nice with the human friends, like really now it just feels like I'm awkward and sullen and I don't know why you guys hang out.
Yeah, I
with me.
think in the books,
Like,
there is a little bit more of like she does have an appreciation for her friends that they don't quite.
and she
tap
could just
on.
be better about like being a normal human, like even if you feel awkward inside, like oh I'm smiling and pretending like I like you guys, like a little bit more of that. In the film, it just feels like why do you
have
talk
like
to
2
each
hours
other?
to tell everything?
I
Gosh,
know.
why do you want the world?
Subtlety, just throw it in there. Just smile at your friends every now and then.
Exactly. Yeah, I can hear that.
I love how easy it was for her to make friends because that is a traditional high school thing. You go to a new high school and you make friends just like easy.
Well, she's
easy.
a shiny
I went to
toy.
the same high school. Yeah, I went to the same high school for like 4 years. I didn't.
And everyone
That's
she meets
fine.
separately on her first day of school are all actually like the best of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a teen movie thing, though. I don't know. Like that felt very.
But that's the
heightened.
only friends she makes.
Those
But-
are the friendly kids at school, but no one likes them, so that's why they all hang out, and so that's why they make new friends.
That
usually.
actually did do a decent job of, like was the newspaper guy and the photographer girl. So yeah. But,
They wanted
they
to
had
get
some-
this. They wanted the feature. They wanted to get the feature on Bella.
what is it?
Feature's dead, Angela. Don't make it weird.
What is this? No, I wrote that line. Feature's dead, Angela. Don't bring it up again. I love that dialogue. There was such good dialogue. Nice ride. Good one. And he was serious.
They were such high schoolers.
Oh, those are the lines though you're gonna like try and tear apart.
Oh,
That-
those
no, 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 no.
Okay, I was
Those are
gonna
the
say,
funniest
I
ones.
love that every scene we see the boys in the back room, there's always like 5 other boys fighting or skirmishing, right? Time like one person is talking
so
about
high
in the front.
school.
But it varies like every single scene. Let's make it clear, guys, we're in high school. these aren't eternal vampires. These are young guys. We're just going to show the
so
contrast
silly.
really clearly.
Yeah.
And then anytime the girls are together, this movie does not pass the Bechdel test. Every time the girls are together, they're talking about boys.
Well, and the fact that
man,
Bella
it's
is
alright.
just so obsessed with Edward, drives me crazy.
And vice versa.
Oh, I trust you. She doesn't even know him, and she trusts him. She's known him for less than a week, and she's like,
And he was creeping on her way before they were even...
Them being obsessed with each other doesn't feel that weird until you meet the rest of the Cullens, and they seem as obsessed with her as Edward does. And that's where I start to get a little like, oh my gosh, this is a cult.
Now, this is a question for people who've read the books. Why is it that he's into Bella and no one else?
Because she's delicious,
It
right?
makes more sense in the books. Like, in the books, I don't question the teenagers who are obsessed with each other. Like, it's romantic and big and cool.
Actually, when I read the books too, I struggle with it from an understanding until I actually read True Story. There is actually a unfinished novel that Stephanie Meyer wrote it's called Midnight Sun, and it's actually Twilight from Edward's perspective. When you read that, which unfortunately got leaked online, and then so she never finished, and I'm still to this day like, please finish this stupid book. But she decided to not finish it because she was pissy about it, I guess. But when you do it from that perspective, it does kind of make more sense. Like, first, it's this person that he instantly wants to kill because she's got the tasty bloods. She smells so good that, he wants to just basically suck her dry, and he's thinking of all these ways that he can get in that scene where he's acting like he has an erection or whatever you said. He's actually going through all these ways that he can think of how he can get away with killing her without exposing himself.
Exposing himself?
To exposing what he is to the rest of the students and everything.
And his huge erection.
Yeah, and without exposing his huge blood erection.
That's an
And
erection.
so they actually, that's what it is. So, anyways.
You guys.
Yeah, I know.
There's no bone in a penis. I just want that to be very clear.
But then also...
but then it turns into a fascination. He basically, he runs away to Alaska for about a week or so, and all he does is he's trying to get his mind off of this girl, and he can't stop thinking about her, and that's like where he's just like, why? The other thing is that because he can't read her mind, he's so used to everybody just their mundane BS, all the same, especially these high school students that are basically like, oh my gosh, I hope he asked me to prom and all that stuff, where he's so over all that kind of stuff that now there's a girl in front of him that seems different from everybody, and he can't actually get a read on what she's saying. So he's fascinated by it from that, and that's what attracts him, because they always say she's not super attractive, she's not supposed to be the most beautiful girl or anything like that, and that's why the other vampires can't really understand it either. But it's like he's got this mega attraction to her blood, but also to her mind, because he can't just tap that. So he can't tap into that. Sorry.
No, I like
Just realized
there.
he can't tap it, and he can't tap into it. So that's where that's coming from. And that isn't necessarily, I think, so much explained in the movie until they kind of get to the "you're my own personal brand of heroin" scene to kind of explain why he can't say no to her. But even then, they don't go into quite that much detail.
So it's like one time I saw this really amazing looking taco, and it looked and smelled delicious, and I really wanted to eat it, but I couldn't tell just by looking at it what was in it. And I fell in love with it. I was obsessed with it for weeks.
Instead, you just cuddled with it at night. And that's basically what
I hung
it's
out
like.
outside its window. And,
Yeah. Until one day, spoiler alert, you yourself became a taco.
I did.
Or vice versa.
Of
It
sorts.
became a human. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that's the perfect analogy.
That's what happened.
The two of them are like dumb, horny teenagers, and I'm like kind of willing to let it go at that. Like, that is enough for them to like want to be all over each other. I mean, like, I know that
But
it
he's
exists
not
on
a
a
teenager. He's a...
Yeah, and that's my
That's
other
a whole other
question.
issue.
Yeah. Okay,
That's really the creep
he's
factor.
more than 100 years old. So why is he going to school? Can anyone answer me this question?
Now it's hard to decide, should we go into questions on the movie versus questions in the books.
Yeah.
Like, it does seem like, why do they keep going to high school? Just say you're homeschooled.
But then I guess,
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Like, I guess because we're talking
Just
about...
be a young
because then you don't
Yeah.
get a book. You don't get
Yeah.
a story.
Does he emotionally mature past 17?
Yes and no. I mean, there are kind of allusions to that where he says, like, I'm still, like, you know, this young kid, but he's just got he's had all this free time to read and read and read. That doesn't mean that he's, like, wise, old, learned man.
He's emotionally mature around girls, and so, like, he's never really had a girlfriend, so I feel like that makes sense that he would be awkward around her, and really excited about her in a childlike way.
And the Cullen family structure is, like, they're all not, I mean, the older you get, I imagine the space between their ages gets smaller and smaller. So, like, for all intents and purposes, they're about the same age, the Cullens. But they still have this structure in place where, like, Carlisle and Esme are the parents. And, like, there's a point where Rosalie breaks a bowl, and then as
that was hilarious.
As Edward and Bella are walking away, Esme gets right in her face and goes, "You pick that up right now."
Because she's mom, and she's no nonsense. I love Esme.
Let me ask you this. I'm sorry, because it's still the same thing. When Elle Fanning appears in the series later on, Dakota Fanning, excuse me, she's young, right?
Her character is
she turned
like
her physical form is young.
For some reason,
she's actually supposed to be younger than.
For some reason, so was she at her physical age maturity level? Why put all those words together in a coherent question and answer?
I think I understand what you're. Yeah, I mean, like I believe the characters of the twins, and now he's referring to what is that book 3 when they officially show up, Eclipse, when yeah, what's her character's name? Jane shows up. I think Jane's supposed to be a little bit younger. I think they just wanted to get Dakota Fanning in there, so they aged her up a little bit. She herself. Yes and no, because she is an older vampire. I don't know if they ever say how old she is, and I think she kind of has these but she's a dark vampire. She's evil, so she kind of likes to mess with people and make them feel pain and all that. I wasn't prepared for this, you guys. I know we were gonna go book 3, but yeah. So I think she is because she's a lot older, but I don't think it was necessarily because of her time. But my understanding was that she was a little bit younger, like.
Okay. Well, basically, I'm trying to get, like, did she cap out at maturity level also, and does she stay at that same maturity level? Because
she seems like an adult.
Because if we're gonna make that excuse for Robert Pattinson for Edward, then she should also be.
I mean, I think he is an adult. The only thing that he does not understand, or that he hasn't dealt with before, is he says that he never had, like, a love interest. He never had a girlfriend. He basically was. He wanted to go straight off to war, and then his story is that he got sick, and then Carlisle found him and turned him right before he died. So
how does Carlisle just sort of discriminate who he turns?
He only does it if they are dying. He won't do it to anyone that takes. He won't take a choice.
Though. Like, presumably if he's been practicing for hundreds of years, he's turned hundreds of people, right?
No, so again, the backstory on that one is, and that's the problem with the movies. I think is that if you haven't read those, you have those questions as unanswered questions.
They come up as like weird. I don't know. I don't want to say continuity issues
so
in the movie.
Carlisle's thing has always been he got turned. Someone bit him, and he managed to hide away. He's 300 something years old, and so at the time it was like when they were doing witch hunts and things, and so he knew what would happen to him if they found him and that he was bit. So he hid away. He discovered what he was once he had officially turned, and he to this day has never taken a human life. He found out that he could do it through eating. I think that's true. He only eats animals to be able to, recharge his energy. And, so he never wanted to do that to anyone else unless, it wasn't until a couple, I think 100 years later that he ran into Edward in 1918 or something like that. And, so he turned him because he was dead. He knew his parents were about to, his parents were already gone, and he knew he was next, and so he decided to turn him and kind of have a companion. Mm-hmm. That was the only purpose for doing it. And then they found Esme a little while later, and then Rosalie and Emmett. But the thing is, they were all near death when they got turned over. So, and then the understanding is that there's not a whole lot of vampires, because either you have to have a lot of restraint to turn these creatures yourself, because you want to just suck the blood. You're only supposed to bite them a little bit just to get the venom in and change them. But your desire is to kill them, essentially. So all the bad vampires that are out there eating up people, they don't leave enough for the person to turn over. Mm-hmm. So that's why there's also not supposed to be a lot of vampires around. That's why they don't run into them all the time, and why people don't know about them as much. I really know way too much about Twilight, you guys, and I'm very, very should be very embarrassed, but I'm actually not.
It's educational. This is good.
Yeah. We'd actually tour the country and just start talking about it.
I have way more notes about this movie than I have any of the other ones, but I still want to hear what you guys.
Okay, so my big problem with the movie is that the kind of like villains that are shoved in the last 30 minutes of the movie aren't particularly interesting, and like James's motivations are really kind of weird. It's just
because he was told no, now he's got to chase after her essentially.
And and that's where the movie. I mean, I'm not saying I loved this movie, but that's where it really falls apart for me.
Say it. Say you loved it. I want to go home.
God.
I'm just kidding.
Marathoned all the movies this week.
But that's fair. The movie's essentially...
We're not leaving until you say you like it. So it's gonna be the longest podcast.
No. I mean, honestly, I didn't dislike this movie. I didn't. Yes. Yeah, no. I went in thinking, because I don't remember being a big fan of it, and it wasn't as bad as I remembered it. But just everything after that gets really, like, the Cullens get really cultish and weird. And I don't understand, like, why this vampire is chasing down Bella, like, across the country. It feels really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the toughness of the books, and the story is the love story, and then we have to throw in some peril.
Yeah.
A way more interesting climax, and I know it exists because James gets them to that place. But is the point where Edward has to suck the venom out of her arm without killing her. That's way more interesting than evil vampire trying to kill her.
Well, here's the thing.
But he wouldn't have got to that point if he hadn't had an evil vampire trying to kill her, so...
Here's the thing. Stephanie Meyer started writing this book for James's point of view, but she hasn't put it out. And I'm just kidding. It totally explains.
So there is actually backstory on James.
But it doesn't exist in the movie.
It doesn't.
So, we can throw it out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. No. I can see your point. I wasn't good. I mean, I wish I had been taking studious notes back when this came out on the off chance that there was a podcast about it. But I didn't remember. I guess, I just took it for what it was. It's a movie about vampires. So I think, like, in the first, like, anytime anyone's like, I mean, the fact that we haven't even talked about the sparkles yet, it's kind of amazing to me because everyone takes such offense, like, vampires don't sparkle. And it's like, look, every mummy movie is not the same. Every zombie movie, every, monster movie, every alien movie, they all have their own little thing.
They rewrite the rules.
This is silly to a certain point, but... diamonds are a girl's best friend, so I don't actually. I think that makes sense.
The sparkle scene, I think. Sorry.
No, I was also going to try and remind you guys. This should have made me my original point. This movie is based on a young adult novel, we should not be pretending that it is anything more than that.
But so
really.
is Hunger Games, and Hunger Games is awesome.
And here's my thing about the skin.
All right, fine, you're right.
So is Harry Potter.
It's hard to hold anything. Like, I don't know. The Hunger Games is like a really good YA property.
Well, okay, so for Harry Potter and the Hunger Games, both of those movies are able to capture most everything, the essence of the book. And the other...
I think that I mean, I see where you're going with that. One of the other things, too, I would say about it is that those aren't... The main purpose of those stories isn't a love story so much as, like... are you disagreeing with me?
No, I think that's a good point.
It's not, so yes, I think anytime that there's... I mean, that's more about, like, someone... And I guess some people would argue that, Twilight is not really a love story. It's about a girl becoming empowered and finding who she is and all that. It's totally a love story. It totally is.
Abstinence and how they want to have sex.
There is maybe a subtle underlying, based on religion. There might be something there. I mean, I figured out a long time ago that the reason why Twilight or even something like 50 Shades of Grey is so successful is because girls love a bad boy that wants to become good for them. That's the thing I think at the end of it is like, you don't really want the bad boy that's going to break your heart and leave you, but you want the guy that's like, I love you so much. I am going to try and change to be, because that's what we all, right? We're all just trying to change our men, ladies, I think. So, the fact that the one that's like, I'm going to change to be good and to deserve you is why I think the driving force of why this is so popular. But yeah, so when you look at that, when you compare it to these other movies, those ones have much more of a, like, someone coming from somewhere from the depths below that have risen up and fought for what they want and deserve. And I mean,
and a lot more included action. You're right. This one is just
so
the
there is kind of yes, they even in this movie they even add a character just so they can kill him off, so that it's some kind of earlier action to kind of get those baddies in our peripheral. That
I think it's an unpopular opinion too. I think the movie does a lot better work setting itself up than the book does. The first movie.
And I think that's because I agree with you. The villains maybe aren't as scary or as violent or whatever, because I think they do explore that in the later books and the later films. But and I think I read some reviews where people were kind of like, I don't like the villains, and I'm like, I guess I never really thought about it that much. Maybe I should. But yeah, it is hard when there is a backstory. There's a reason why James, can't let go of Bella, but they don't take the time to explain that in the movie, because I think maybe people would get bored too. Like, all right, who cares? Did you kill him? Good. You drove him through that plank of wood. That was a cool little. Come on.
I thought actually the fight scene was pretty decent.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
They only had like $35 million, you guys. So, that's pretty good.
Can I ask you a question about sparkles? Did the effects get better in the subsequent movies? Because it didn't look like sparkles. It looked like somebody just took kind of a prism filter over him, and it just.
The roughness of the budget and the cheap special effects are fine for most of it, but that scene where Edward's melting down and just really bearing his soul, and he has a sparkle filter over his face.
I don't have a problem with the sparkles so much as the wind chime. When they do the wind chime effect, that's when it's like, you guys, you lost a little bit.
It's like the twinkle, when they do a twinkle.
I was trying to look up where I feel like at some point in time I read this, because then I was like, oh, that makes sense. And I don't remember I don't think it was in the books. Maybe I was reading some kind of, or something where they were basically trying to say, yes, they always say it's like diamonds, you're sparkling like diamonds. And yes, there is a sparkle to that, but then it's all these millions of other. So they changed it in the later books to really get it to be like a facet of a diamond really hitting the light and really kind of sparkling and reflecting on you. In that one scene where they do the sparkle, he's very far away from her, so it's only the stuff on his body. But somewhere I read it where they were describing it as snow, the way that light reflects off the snow. And I remember being somewhere on a chairlift, probably in Big Bear or something, and I'm going up and I see the light hitting the snow below, and I was like, yeah, that actually kind of is. You guys, that's really sad. I just admitted that I think about Twilight just whenever. But this was years ago.
We haven't told Cerissa this is actually her intervention.
Yeah. That's you guys. Thank you. Yeah, no, where's the banner? So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that makes sense, and I kind of I was fine with it. Now, yeah, there are actual crazy people out there that try to get their boyfriends to wear sparkle glitter, and I am totally shaming you people out there if you're listening, but.
No, those are our viewership.
That one lady's like, oh.
Yeah.
So, yes, I agree that it could have been done better, but at the same time, I when I read that, I was kind of like, oh, that makes sense. So, but the wind chime.
I don't have a problem with the sparkling in theory. It's fine, but I just think the way it's pulled off, that's a big moment in the movie, and it's executed so cheesy.
I just don't know that you were ever going to be able to do that and not be able to. A little bit cheesy, though.
Did you know ILM did those special effects?
Oh no!
Right?
Oh my gosh!
Industrial Light and Magic, the best special effects company. I'm sure it might be changed now, but
they're not anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. See,
they're the ones who took over Harry Potter after the first movie. When it got way better.
So maybe they did it right, and you guys are just being really mean about it.
No, I don't think so.
Like I said, the wind chime was that if you actually go back and watch, there's a little wind chime. You can hear the background.
I can hear it in my mind right now.
Also, we haven't really mentioned Taylor Lautner's character.
Okay, bring it on. I'm ready.
But he was just, it feels like the scenes that he's in, that they just inserted them last minute. Okay, we have to include
Well, he comes in as
him.
Basil Exposition.
Yeah.
And, let me impart the important information to you, pretty girl.
And he aggressively sets up future.
Yeah.
Yeah, they... It's not a triangle in any way. It's
yeah,
but it's not there yet. at all,
No.
for sure.
Right. Well, and that's always been my argument. Is there was never a Team Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay, it was always
Jacob's
Team
just
Edward.
kind of a gross.
You can
interlude.
lie, Jacob.
Oh my
You
god,
feel
the
bad
scene
for
at the end where he shows up and he's like, "Hey, my dad paid me to tell you to like quit your relationship," and she's just like, "Okay, whatever."
But I put on a tie to do it because I'm invading outside of prom.
When I was going back and watching it, I really like Taylor Lautner a lot because he,
A Lautner?
I'm gonna start saying that from now on. You guys are gonna regret that. That I did like him because he's supposed to be playing this like 15-year-old kid at first, and I think he is that kind of like not dumb teenagers that that Bella's been hanging out with, but he's got a little bit of warmth and character to him and stuff like that. But he, what I really loved about it was that like after the movie was done and then they know they're gonna make the rest of him, was that he had to then fight to keep his role because Jacob's supposed to be this big, tall, muscular kid once his transformation hits.
So he just
And so
took
he
steroids.
steroid abuse and
He
got-
basically probably did for a little bit, but I really like that he fought for that role, and I was like, yay! Like I didn't want to see him recast. Like I didn't want to see anybody recast. Unfortunately, a couple of movies later that happened, anyways. But I thought he was right. I thought even though yes, I agree, he's kind of just shoved in there to explain a few things, and he becomes a larger character later on. But I was happy with the choice that they made with him, and I think he ended up doing a good job throughout. He always impressed upon me, and I think I was listening dead silence here, but it was always more disturbing to me is when he did make his transformation, and then having to listen to a bunch of grown women screaming when he would take his shirt off, and I'm like, guys, he's still 17. He is still 17.
That's not
And so
appropriate.
eventually he bangs a baby too, right? That's like a
That
No,
is
that's
not how that goes.
That's
he
different.
pulls
He gets to bang a
Renesmee
baby.
right out of the
He
womb and
gets to.
just like, this one's mine. I'll take this one. It's fine. I don't need you anymore, Bella.
No, he looks at her as if she's just this
A
thing that he has
sexual
to take
object
care
that's
of,
just gotta.
and she gets to be that later. Yeah,
When
that's
does it
not
stop
weird
being
at
weird?
all.
How
That's
quickly does she age? Oh my god.
very fast
Just
because
a
he
couple
hasn't
years
gotten
and then
any
I'm
yet. So he only got that one kiss from Bella. Spoiler alert. So
Well, we're having fun, guys. But unfortunately, all good things must end.
Fun's fun.
So
fair.
we're so okay.
Can I say one more thing though? Because this really stood out to me.
We can make it a double episode if we really want to.
No. Okay, one thing really stood out to me. It's after the big battle at the end has happened, and Bella is talking to her mom in the hospital, and the story her mom
We're gonna
gives.
use the hospital. Oh.
Oh gosh.
The story her mom gives is like, hey, Edward and his dad, drove to Phoenix to find you. You went to their hotel room. You fell down 2 flights of stairs and fell out a window. Thank God they found you and brought you to the hospital. That just straight up sounds like Bella got the shit beat out of her by her abusive boyfriend, right?
And also the movie flash cuts to a flashback of her falling down the stairs and falling out the window,
What is with
which
the-
she did not do.
Although I enjoyed every flashback in this movie because they were all done with horrible period costumes and sepia
It was
tones.
so cheesy. I don't know. It was cheesy and weird. It was kind of fun.
you
I don't know.
guys, you love this movie. You know it. I mean, no other movie has given us back Peter Facinelli.
I'm grateful for that. Even
I
with the
don't
blonde
look
hair
like
and the
a
pale makeup.
corpse when he walks in the first time. I'm like, oh my god.
He's kind of
He's
supposed
so
to be.
great.
Yeah.
I don't know how everyone
mean-
doesn't just turn around and look at him and go like, dude, do you need to like lie down? Do you need to?
And that's a big fault
The makeup,
with these
the
movies.
makeup was a bit of a
Like,
hard
they're
one
supposed
in
to
the
be
first one.
beautiful and otherworldly, but I think in all of them, like, they're just pale and weird looking.
They look like typical Forks residents, I think.
I think like now they'd just be like a bunch of hipsters. Like I think everybody just be like meh. Like, what are you gonna do?
One weirdo. Oh well.
There's so much we haven't even talked about.
I don't know. I still love this movie. You guys should too. We're being so hard on it. It's just Twilight.
The
Okay,
story is
we're going to do right now, Bobby and Laura discuss gender politics in the movie we just watched.
I think we might actually
yeah.
agree on this one. I don't know.
Oh, that's no fun. That's
I think that the females are portrayed horribly in this movie. And this series, actually. I'm going to extend that to all of the films. That there's like not, it wouldn't pass the Bechdel test, as mentioned earlier by Lauren. And I think that Bella is probably maybe like one of the most I don't know what I want to say, but I think that she is,
Well, her soul-defining character trait is loves Edward. Like, she has nothing going on outside of that.
He was an underwritten character, like, in a popular YA novel. She just doesn't have any attributes that are...
And I find it particularly troubling at the end, the way her parents react to, like, this horrible, like...
Well,
incident that both of them are just like, okay, go back to dating this boy who...
Well, her attributes are all just about Edward. Like, there's nothing that defines her except for being this mumbly, awkward teenager. You know, like, she doesn't have... Like, you don't know about her. And when he leaves her, then the next movie, I'm spoiling it, but...
next movie's just garbage. It's so bad.
She just pines after him. She spends the whole movie bemoaning the fact that he's left her, and she doesn't know what to do. And that shouldn't be her defining characteristic, you know.
She loves her family like her dad, who she treats like crap. No, I'm sorry. This is your time.
No. But anyway, I think that's my problem with the movie. And the other females are fine. I mean, you don't really get to know the mom very much. Esme, is that...
Elizabeth Reeser's character.
Yeah, Elizabeth Reeser is great. I think she's like my favorite.
Can we do a meta gender issue real quick? It's kind of a bummer, and I know like Catherine Hardwicke's kind of like a controversial choice, I guess, but it's kind of a bummer that she gets shuffled out right after the first movie in this movie franchise that's for teen girls and gets replaced by like a parade of men directors. Like, it would have been cool to have like a woman's voice throughout the whole series.
Well,
I think
the screenwriter is female. She retained.
Yes.
She was the whole time. It was, but I agree with
And
that.
so
But I also feel like, I mean, they were trying to greenlight these movies and push them out, and I just don't think that she could have also kept up with their timeline as well. But yeah, that was disheartening to not see. I did like the other directors that stepped in, and I thought they all had a different, interesting voice. But yeah, there should have definitely been. That was something that was upsetting for a lot of people.
That's a really good point.
But you see, they had that same female voice in the screenwriter the whole time, and that was a big mistake. Because I feel like that was one of the big flaws of this
So
series.
if we've learned anything from this movie, it's that women should not write screenplays.
Yeah, they need to stay out of Hollywood altogether.
Thank you, Laura.
I mean, obviously acting, but
I don't know, guys. We're doing it for us, for hundreds of years.
there's plenty.
They seem fine. Yeah.
There's plenty of bad movies directed by men. So
of course.
Yeah.
So now let's do bad movie wraps. This is, of course, the time that if you were making, like, lettuce wraps to be served during this movie, what kind of lettuce wraps would you guys make?
One with a lot of ketchup in it.
Just a big block of cheese.
Okay.
Like venison tartare
like
mixed with mozzarella.
I was not prepared for this question at all.
Nobody was.
I don't even know if I know how to make regular lettuce wraps. So
I think you'd want to fill it with human blood, but
I'd just order out. I'd order takeout. Yeah, that'd be easier.
that's probably good.
You would build a really delicious lettuce wrap, but the catch is you're only allowed to take one bite of it.
No, that's yeah. And
And then you yourself will turn into a lettuce wrap.
I must fall in love with the lettuce wrap and creepily stalk it for a while.
What will that taco say, though? You can break that taco shell.
Poor taco. Okay, how about Punch Up? Punch Up. This is the segment of the show where we talk about ways that we could make the movie better. Punch up the script. I'm sure.
I don't think we have time for that.
There's not going to be much. Yeah.
I just think if every character could be played by Billy Burke,
He's
Charlie,
wonderful.
He's good.
and all of them have his mustache. I mean, that probably would be the best version of Twilight ever. That's the only way you could top this movie, in my opinion. So.
I think that everyone is so earnest. There need to be more acknowledgments of how effed up everything is. Like when Edward reveals to Bella that he has been watching her sleep for the past several months, like sneaking into her room and watching her sleep. She's like, oh. And there should be like a moment of, that's kind of weird. And like, yeah, I know, I'm weird. This is a weird situation we're in. Like just a little more acknowledging that this is all crazy and awful would be nice.
I think they need to punch up her character more. But we've discussed the gender politics of
Yeah.
her, so...
I'd like to see more character motivation for things. Just like one of the things, I just glanced at my notes, and one of the things, Edward's not telling her he's a vampire. This is way in the very beginning, and he says he's going to try to keep his distance, and the next thing they know, they're eating at the cafeteria together, and he's like, I don't think this was the same scene, but I'd like to hear your theories about why I'm so. It's like, dude, either just come out and say it, or ignore her, or leave her alone.
Yeah.
Don't beat around the bush as to why do you think I can stop cars with my bare hands? Come on. What a douche.
I think you're all in luck because we live in the golden age of remakes, and I think eventually someone's going to come along and try to actually make that movie. And
if they did, and they took our advice seriously, this could be like a very successful multi-million-dollar franchise.
Yeah. We might have something
Instead
here.
of the flop it
you'll have
was, right?
you'll have a separate the Punch Up podcast.
Yeah.
You guys should start that right now.
Did you want to jump in, Laura? Did you say one?
No, I just said her character, just like I would add more to her character.
Okay. Well, speaking of remakes, how about let's talk about the movie we wish we'd seen.
Ugh, this movie is crap. I could write a better movie in my sleep.
And now, IDOBM presents the movie we'd wish we'd seen.
And this is where we take a component of the movie, a character, or a subplot, or something, and we make it into a full movie, or it could be like a prequel or a sequel, or just something like that. So, let's start with Bobby.
I would like to see this movie from Edward's point of... No, I'm kidding. I don't, personally, I'm not particularly interested in the greater world outside of Bella and Edward, and I would rather see a movie that's just more focused on their relationship, see them as more interesting characters, less of Edward's family, definitely completely cut out the villains at the end. I don't know. That's the movie I'd like to see. I mean, what do I know? Again, this has definitely made its stamp on pop culture, and it doesn't really matter. But that's the movie I'd want to see.
How about let's go to Lauren.
I want to see the road comedy of the Cullen family before they came to Washington. It's all just focused on Carlisle and Esme's relationship and the hard time they're having raising these young vampire kids and the adventures they have and the lives they lead together.
Cerissa,
to expand on what Bobby said, I do want to see the Edward version of that. That would be way more creepy, and I guess that was just 50 Shades of Grey.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I just because I did read the Midnight Sun book, I thought it was really fascinating to get inside his head. I wish I had a funnier answer for that, but like I said, the whole movie with Carlisle, or not Carlisle, Charlie. That would be probably actually like a buddy comedy with Carlisle and Charlie. Let's make that a
crimes.
They could solve crimes, you guys, and he's like the medical examiner too, and
That's
oh my gosh,
that's the TV spinoff you could do of this.
yes,
franchise,
yes.
I don't think Billy Burke and Peter Fasinelli are doing it.
is Revolution off the air?
No, but Forever is, which would have pretty much been copycatting my idea. So, but yeah, Forks Forever, whatever. That could be it.
Would he turn a dying patient into a vampire in every single episode of this spinoff?
He does it very selectively. She's already covered that.
That's right. Only if they're dying, yes.
I kind of like the idea of seeing when they finally integrate vampire and human baseball. That would be awesome. But
only if it's scored by Muse.
What's that?
Why don't the bats break?
That's a good point. I'd like to see. Okay.
They've dipped them in vampire venom. I don't know.
Bella is, I think it would be much more interesting. She comes into this new school. She's really mature. She's fixing everyone's life. She's fixing the newspaper. She's putting these couples together, keeping the Asian couples together, making sure that they go to the prom together, and basically fixing everyone's life. And I kind of just want to see that. I want to see these broken teenagers and this powder-like character come in and take, make their lives better and then just walk out
I thought
Timothy
that
Green
is,
or whatever.
That is the movie, right?
But I want to see them. I don't want to see any of the vampire.
You want to see her turn into a plant?
Or just lots of
What
Annie
if we
Kendrick.
simultaneously rebooted Twilight and Powder?
I like it.
I want to go back briefly and just
wait.
Can I just go back briefly to something Sam said to make clear that the Asian Angela is interested in the Asian Eric, and it just
think she's
happens that
Asian.
Bella encourages them to go together. Sam is not saying that
I'm
he
not,
wants
no.
Bella to just keep all of the Asian kids together.
No,
That would be an interesting character trait for Bella
that
to
was
have.
that wasn't my
That
point of
was
view. That was
really-
the movie's point of view.
And now that I'm
from
thinking
my
about it, I don't think she's Asian.
She's totally not Asian, you guys. She's on Walking
She's
Dead
just
and
wearing
everything.
glasses.
I want to see Bella as a werewolf.
No, I
fall
want
in love
to
with the
see.
vampire.
Let's
And
redo.
you
That
should
would be
read my
really-
fan fiction.
Let's do this movie over again, but with Anna Kendrick as Bella. I think that would be.
Did you hear who
Perfect movie.
Stephanie Meyer's choice was for Bella?
I know she like Emily Browning.
Yeah, Emily Browning, who I think would have actually been
Yeah.
a pretty interesting Bella.
Yeah, but she also wanted Henry Cavill for
Who would
Edward.
have been
who
a
was
horrible
too
Edward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not a really good actor.
He went on to do Superman. He's doing great things, you guys. He's
I
doing
know,
fine.
but he's like very, very like.
He's
Yeah,
handsome.
she had an interesting cast.
Too
I
handsome
think.
to
I
play
don't
Edward.
know. He's too
And
handsome.
no, I mean Edward has to be that weird, creepy Hot Topic kid. I think, I think that's very essential to Edward's character.
I think you're
So he
very
can play the
right.
piano.
with his long
Oh,
spindly
was that
fingernails.
piano? Was that a dream sequence? That piano scene?
No, it was
No,
real.
it's
my
meant to be
It was
real.
an example
Yeah.
of bad directing, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
No,
lighting
I
was so
think
different,
I'm
and
shocked you guys didn't touch on the soundtrack, the music. I think that they used to score the film, the actual regular pop songs and everything. I think was amazing. The kind of real '80s riff-tastic like score power ballad kind of thing that they were doing. I forget the name of the composer for this one.
Carter Burrow?
Yeah, who's done
He
other
does a
great
ton of-
things.
he does everything,
It
right?
it felt very like, ooh, wow, this is kind of dating it just a bit. So that to me was what made it more a little bit. It wasn't meant to be a dream sequence, though. It was just
The lighting too. didn't
yeah,
help.
like
yeah.
Dutch angles,
And-
weird lighting.
And she goes from the Chase,
The whole movie's
Chase
Dutch
Lounge.
angle.
She goes from the Chase Lounge to all of a sudden she's next to him on the bench. It really felt like a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
This whole movie was a dream. You actually
It was a
dreamed-
nightmare.
this is
Oh my gosh.
yeah, none of
She
this is
wakes
real.
up in the end and she's in bed with Suzanne Plagette, and it's all.
A movie with
That's a very
That was a
timely
TV
reference.
reference. Everyone knows that reference.
Okay.
I don't know.
No.
Oh.
Third season of Dallas.
New Hot, you watch it, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I was thinking. So that pretty much covered. Any other last words about this movie before I move on?
No, I think. I mean, you guys haven't deterred me though. I'm gonna go home and read the books again and have a marathon.
That is good. I've said
movie
before.
and-
We don't want to discourage you from like.
Yeah.
I think that we need to have more liking of things in the world. We don't need to poke
right.
holes in that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like giving you guys an easy target here, but you know,
Softball.
yeah.
I think I was thinking of bringing up a new sequence. Movies that don't need defending. Well, basically, we just talk about any movies we may have seen recently. Since I mentioned that we might be talking about the Avengers in the mini-sode.
Which I'm actually going to see for the first time tomorrow.
Ooh.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, you guys.
I haven't
good.
seen anything.
Yeah, good. Oh well, then that's good. Yeah, because I was going to cancel
I'm
my
not going to
tickets.
say it was super awesome because I don't want to oversell it. And
All right, that's fair. Yeah.
Even though Twilight was right.
it was good. I think I prefer the first Avengers.
Who cares?
Okay. All right.
Bobby agrees with me on this one. Who cares, right?
I thought Age of Ultron was really good.
Good.
This is like I haven't watched them recently, but I guess it's kind of timely. Let the Right One In, which is a Swedish vampire movie, really good.
Yeah.
And even the American remake Let Me In, I think
wasn't
is
as
very
good.
good
This
too.
one's better, right?
Yeah.
They both focus on very different things. And I actually found out about Let the Right One In Roger Ebert's review of Twilight.
Oh.
But yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Check those
sorry.
out.
I just want to say, this is just on a personal level. I know this is totally aside again, but I feel like I got cooler because of Twilight, you guys, because I didn't know about some of these bands before, some of this music, some of I just wanted to try and dress cool. Like, I thought Kristen Stewart had this cool edge to her, in interviews and stuff, and I was like, I'll be more like her. I'm gonna wear a bracelet that just has leather cuff for no reason. And you know what? I think it worked. I think I'm a cooler person
I
today.
grew my hair out like Taylor Lautner for a couple of years after.
I think, I think this movie did a lot of more good than harm.
I didn't know you before, but I think you're really cool now.
Well, see, and it's because of this movie. I mean, truly. Oh my god.
Any other we saw just mentioning a few genre things that I really liked. It Follows, which I'm
That's so
totally
good.
obsessed with.
It's great.
is amazing. It's a great horror movie. And today we saw Ex
More
Machina.
like it's great. Okay, go on. Sorry.
And Ex Machina, we saw today. It's a really good sci-fi movie. So
I do want to see that.
I think you should. Any other? You guys see movies all the time, Bobby and Laura.
Have we seen anything
Have you been to
interesting
cinema
lately?
lately?
No, I mean...
How dare you?
Okay, I'm sorry. Would you like to recommend it?
Yes, we just watched Far from the Madding Crowd last night, and I very much liked it, and Bobby was kind of...
It's alright.
Is it because you make you want to slit your wrist like all Tom Hardy stories do?
Oh my gosh, how dare you.
I much preferred him as Bane.
Speaking of which, does Thomas Hardy does he have something wrong with his mouth that he's self-conscious about? Because he's got it covered in the new Mad Max movie. It's like, you just like, guys, just cover my mouth for every movie.
Has anyone seen Mad Max yet?
I know.
I want to see that.
I had to make a choice over
Pitch
Avengers
Perfect
or...
2?
Yeah, no. It was a double feature, yeah. We'll do Avengers and then Mad Max.
And Lauren, I recommended 2 movies that we both saw. Is there anything else you want to...
You stole my thunder.
I'm sorry. I recommend, what's it called? Snowpiercer.
I'm still debating Snowpiercer.
Should I watch that? I think it's been
Snowpiercer
sitting on my Netflix queue for about 3 weeks.
Snowpiercer was a really interesting movie that I'm debating if it improved my life to see. Like, it was just so damn dark. But, like, it was good. It was like, oh, is this enriching me somehow? I'm not sure. Oh, I'm emotionally tired from this film.
All right, I guess I'm in. You sold me.
That's fair. That's a fair take on it. I'm not sure where I stand on it right now either, so...
Still good. Still neat.
Yeah.
So final verdicts on Snowpiercer.
That Chris Evans, you guys. He's gonna be a big deal someday soon.
Oh, I forgot to do our final verdicts on this. So let's go around the horn. Laura, you liked Twilight, the movie.
I don't know if I would say I liked it. I think that it is the best one out of all of the Twilight movies, but that's not saying a lot because I think all the other Twilight movies are pretty bad. So it has a lot more problems than it does good things going for it. So I am kind of in the not really for me camp. So I don't know. Like, I think I think she did the best job with it. And I'm happy that there's a female director attached to such a big budget film. But as far as acting goes, no. Not really so much.
So if you have to watch a Twilight movie, you'd recommend this one?
Yeah, if I had to.
Okay.
Well, it would help to start with the first one.
Well, actually, I didn't start with the first one. I watched the third one first. And that was really, really bad.
So, Bobby, what do you think, Twilight?
It's fine. It's got a lot of problems. I do think it's kind of the most interestingly made out of all of them. But and I don't know if I'm going to go revisit it anytime soon. But it's fine. I don't know. I don't know that I have any strong opinions on it one way or the other.
And Cerissa, two enthusiastic thumbs up.
I am unconditionally and irrevocably in love with this movie. It's not going to change.
I like how she added those 2 words, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I have a really big vocabulary."
No, it's a line from the movie.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about Stephanie
Oh,
Meyer.
okay.
I'm not talking about you. Sir. I'm talking about Stephanie Meyer because you
Look
could
at
tell
you,
that they
Cerissa,
took
smart.
that directly from the book, and you could go in her head and you're like, I'm gonna write these really big words, and people are gonna think this is a really smart novel. So I'm gonna make sure I get those words in there.
But yeah, no, sorry. I'm gonna watch this movie for a long time.
I hope
Probably.
you enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you. I will.
Lauren, how about you?
I'm a big fan of Twilight the story. Heck yeah, forbidden love between human and vampire and the rough road to their finally being happy together.
Gosh.
The movie itself is deeply flawed, and though there is potential in it, I'd feel that the 3 main women involved just make it too difficult to watch. The screenwriter, director, and Kristen Stewart make it so I cannot return to this film.
Okay, I don't like it. And I'm also going to say, real quick, I don't think I like the whole bad boy thing. I didn't like Grease because the guy was a dick to her the whole time. Maybe it is just a girl thing. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I'm kind of maybe more on your side about the bad boy thing. I'm not.
Bad boys are douches.
Is Edward really a bad boy? Like, besides
No,
that
he
could
doesn't
kill
want
her,
to be. Yeah,
But like, besides that he could kill her, he's kind of like the chess nerd.
Fair enough.
Besides the fact that he can
He's got a
suck
really
her
creepy
blood.
family, though, right? Like, they're trying to induct her into, like, a weird
Well,
cult.
is Rosalie, does she like Edward? Is that why she's so protective of him?
No.
Because there's a weird vibe, like her so jealous.
Her thing is that she was the only one that didn't. She's not okay with being turned. She wants to be human, and so she's pissed at Edward for bringing a human in, and like that this girl's even going to possibly make a decision to become a vampire. So she's like, "You're making the wrong decision." Essentially, I don't know.
I more enjoy the idea that she wants to take Edward to the Bone Zone.
That was okay. Sorry, I'm gonna stop belying my Twilight knowledge.
I know. I was gonna start getting into a thing too. I'm like, but we've got limited time.
No one wants to hear any more about this, right?
We have at least an hour left, by the way.
But
we are going to keep going.
Let's just go right into New Moon, right? We're gonna make this a segment and keep going.
Okay, so that about settled. Oh, and yeah, I don't. So if you're right, if this is not really a bad boy type thing, then it's an unqualified me not liking the movie. So, okay, so that does it for Twilight. Does anyone have anything they would like to plug rather than going around? Anyone want to throw anything out there?
You guys, if you want, I know you guys occasionally let people know you're on Twitter and stuff. I've been trying to break 190 followers for a while, so if you want to follow me, occasionally I'll say something silly at Miss Cerissa. I don't tweet a lot, so you're welcome. But
how's Miss Cerissa spelled?
Ceriss.
Follow us at IDOBM podcast.
You plug your own podcast too.
And follow, find us on Facebook, in Defense of Bad Movies. And we're soon going to be launching a new website, so look out for that. We'll announce it on Facebook very soon. Working on that. Bobby put together a really cool new layout for our website, so it's easier to get our podcast.
Awesome. Let's see. I've got my improv group has a show coming up on June 14th, that's Sunday, June 14th at 7 at the Long Beach Playhouse. We're the upperclassmen. You can get our tickets online. So there's that. Should be cool. Anyone else?
Sweet.
Cool.
You guys, the IDOBM crew, went out to a Geeks Who Drink pub quiz at Bricks in Sunset Beach the other day, and we won under our team name, IDOBM, just for you guys.
Congratulations.
It's all for the audience.
Yeah.
It's for your benefit, and the winnings go directly back to you.
Not the gift card that we want.
No,
We're going to be
that's
using
ours,
that for subsequent visits to Bricks.
But keeps us healthy and producing more podcasts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that about does it. Thanks you guys so much. Thank you, Cerissa.
Yeah,
You've been
thank you.
a delightful guest.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. And I think that'll do it. Thank you everyone for listening.
Bye.
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 I'm waving to the microphone like, yeah.
More visual.
Bye, everyone.